So, I didn't really think I was going to come back to doing this sort of thing, but a certain someone out there, and you know who you are, really wanted me to do a few more chapters on this story. And, at first I didn't actually want to do it, because I've kind of left, fanfic reading behind. Because I'm not good. I'm not that good at it. I don't have that right kind of voice for it, especially for doing characters. But, animations take a while to do, so I guess this can serve as good a content filler or something. And on the other hand, I kind of do want to get this fanfic playlist closer to completion. Just a slight sense of accomplishment in doing that. So yeah, let's give it another shot. And if this video is received very well by the public, then yeah, I might do the next few chapters. I might do the rest of the story even. So yeah, this is chapter 7 of He Never Had So Sweet a Changeling by Gabriel Lavedia. Once the hurt had passed and understanding seemed to fill the place it had once occupied, things became more pleasant in the home holding Vanilla and Double. With Vanilla being less standoffish and aloof, he was more approachable, much more cheerful, and poured more of his heart and soul into the things he prepared. For her part, Double had dropped the veneer of an upper terrace elitist, and pared her personality down to what she might normally present to a pony when attempting to be normal. I forgot how long his sentences were. She was only halfway through her recovery, or perhaps a little more than that. She was not strong enough yet to do very much. She had perfected the art of hobbling on 3 legs to the facilities, and did it very well. But she was not in any way capable of getting down the stairs, even though, she's a changeling. She could just fly when Vanilla's not looking, but whatever. She was reasonably content with that. I bet you are, you lazy bugger. Haha, get it, bugger, because she's a changeling. Bug, changeling, yeah, it's too complicated for you. Yeah, Vanilla did not seem to mind coming up to feed her. Days no longer peeled her painfully away. They transitioned with a rising sense of normalcy. Yeah, right. She rose with a real smile, and went down with a soft hum of contentment. Besides the increased happiness of not having to maintain an adversarial relationship, the void within screamed far less as the drips and drabs of second hoof love fell in from all that food he enjoyed making. It had not taken too much convincing once he had been stung by guilt and made to see things as they were. How odd! She used truth to help herself, supporting a lie that fed her hunger for love. Truth rather than deception. It was a coincidence. That was all. It had the effect of helping, but that was hardly what truth did. Not for changelings. I mean, it's not like you've ever really told the truth before. Well, I suppose you have in other fanfics. Whatever. What am I talking about? Shut up. Vanilla was far more alive than he had been before. Ever since his retirement from professional cooking, he had struggled through his odd half-life. Half-life! Half-Life 3 confirmed! Da da da! Then Dee Dee came down into his life. It was like those movies he found so odd and unbelievable. This strange mare coming into her life and shaking it up. Oh yeah, that's totally original, isn't it? It had not been easy to bear, of course. He had always thought of those crazy ladies as unbearable. Fun to watch, but surely hell to live with. And while Dee Dee was in no way like those manic mares, she was an insufferable presence, or at least she had been. After both confronted the irrationalities of their assumptions, she had become much more bearable. He had become bearable as well, he reflected. While had fought long and hard on her insufferable nature and the unkind comparisons to the horrible mares and the nobility, he had responded only to the initial coldness with his own coldness. I wonder if Gabriel read this back to himself and he ran out of breath just reading one friggin' sentence. He had to accept part of the blame for making it an unbearable time. For all he thought of himself as different from the others, he had been acting just like them. Frankly, Don't talk like a retard, come on. Thankfully, nothing was irreparable. Alright, take two. Thankfully, nothing was irreparable. Consolation, laughter, admission of the stupid mistakes, not to mention the occasional chef's table meal and light conversation. So, this may seem odd. What? This may seem odd dinner table conversation between strangers, but can you tell me a little more about yourself? I never really like to eat with those I don't know. A few nights after the late lunch, when things had become more pleasant, Vanilla and Dee Dee were eating dinner together, a modest repast of greens, with plenty of fresh biscuits and a generous vanilla torte as a point of amusement. Lol. Oh god, I have to do her voice now. Oh god. A deep British accent doing a female voice. Yeah, let's see how this goes. Strange perhaps, in ordinary situations, but this is hardly ordinary. You're fucking telling me, listen to my voice, my god. Oh, where's Obab Scribbler when you need her? Forget it. She's too expensive. Dee Dee laughed musically, and shook her head a touch. After all, I have been living in your home and taking advantage of your generous hospitality and delicious meals. It only seems fair. Well now, I am, as you correctly surmised, a mare of the upper classes and terrace. I have no title, though my family at one time had such. Money came from that, then from canny investments. We did not create and innovate, but we supported such with our monetary might once the social might have been removed. God damn it. Why such long sentences? Once the social might have been removed, but nobility is no great prize, as you seem to know very well. She laughed again, and toasted Vanilla with her water glass. Ah, yes. The story I have heard 1,000 times. It may have taken 1,000 years, but the nobility is dying by inches. Perhaps some will remain, but none will take them seriously. I must say I have decent respect for the likes of you, who accepted the loss of title with dignity and panache. What? Oh no, sorry. Panache. Do not admire me. I'm stumbling over my words like a faggot. Oh my god. Take 3. Do not admire me. Dee Dee waved off the honour with a sour look. It was not my doing, it was those that came long before that made me what I am. I can claim nothing more than treading in the steps of their hooves. A follower. I know, I did not invent the santoku, the paring knife, the reduction process, or the technique for making flaky layers in puff pastry, but I use them. I wield these ancient gifts like a painter with palette and brush. He also didn't invent the colours and paints, but they will be used in unique ways. Okay, who the hell talks like this over dinner? Seriously. Dee Dee actually looked quite stunned by that. She sipped at her water for longer than was usual, her eyes casting about for something that clearly wasn't there. I never considered... sorry, wrong voice. God damn it! What is wrong with me? I never considered. I usually consider my heritage a burden, nothing more than dead weight that informs what I do. It can be. Why do you think I live here? I'd never hear the end of the talks I meant to stay in cooking if I lived up there on the mountain. I accept my heritage and I am good at what it had brought to me, but in some sense I am crushed by it. The grandeur and the sweep, just what it means. I don't like it when God. Take 4. I don't like it when it is like that, but I did it for a long while because I was told it was strictly necessary. I understand. Dee Dee munched Okay, just let me have a breather. Because of these fucking long sentences. Don't get me wrong, the story is good. It really is good, but the long sentences and the unnecessary posh words and crap. There really is a thing. There really is such a thing as being too good a writer. Honestly. And Gabriel, if you're watching this and listening to me reading your story again, I really don't mean you any disrespect, but god damn these long sentences. Okay. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Woosa. Okay, let's give it another try. Take 6. Or is it 5? Oh, I don't care. I understand. Yeah. I understand. D.D. munched You know what? I'm just gonna make the story shorter, you know? Because there's a lot of words here that you really don't need. You don't need to be this descriptive. Right. Let's read this UniqueSKD style. I understand. Dee munched on a mouthful of greens, still casting around for something on which she could focus. In the oddest way, I understand. I may not enjoy all that being who I am implies, but it is a duty. A harder one, I imagine. You can't stop being what it is you are. What was that? She clattered her fork on her plate, a more strain of fear showing in her eyes. I mean, you know, I am a chef. It is what I am and what I do. A job as well as a destiny based on my skill. I can stop that and move to this place, becoming a quiet hermit. But you, well, you were born a rich pony into the bloodline that claims you. You can't stop being who you are or what you are. You can only be the best example of what and who you are, a beacon to others. Perhaps you will be the one that creates and innovates, does something unlike the long line behind you. And, oh, god damn it, tablet turned off, because I left it too long. Oh, god damn it, it's gone to the top of the page. Nothing's going right. No, whoa, no, back up. There we go. Dee considered that, picking at her greens carefully. You know, you may be right. If I am not satisfied with the status quo of my family, I could break the mould in some sense. Perhaps only a small amount, but I could. Vanilla smiled and toasted his guest. You will have all my support. When you are recovered, you will go off and do great things. I'm sure of it. and then he grew fingers and just crossed them behind his back. Yes, Dee suddenly sounded a little hollow. Great things. Great things. Double shook her head and grumbled. She would never do great things. Not as a worker. A failed worker. She could escape culling, the greatest thing she could hope for right now. The swarm would regroup, return to small infiltrations and know far better than to try anything so foolish as an invasion ever again. She was content with that thought, actually. She had long anticipated returning to the swarm, and just forgetting everything. It almost seemed a shame. True, the stress and strain between herself and Vanilla had been very trying, but there had been more than a few lessons that had been beneficial. And by far than a few meals that she would want to remember forever. Forever. Ooh. But there was more to it all than pithy lessons and good meals. It was a good memory of her failure, and the sensation of weakness, something intolerable to her changeling nature. She was in a strange place, glad of memories she would do anything to forget, and anticipating a return to a grim, unforgiving life of monotony. These ponies have strange powers. She had never thought poorly of her life before, or never in those kinds of raw and blatant terms. She had been content. Well, she thought. The limitations of the swarm. She had never considered those limitations before. The culling was unkind, and she knew well what unkindness was. The lack of ability to breed or even be together freely was not very kind. The requirement of strength and rigidity. The requirement of strength. The lack of learning beyond the needed. There was plenty more there to add, but the writer of this fanfic isn't going to add them. For whatever reason. Yeah, it doesn't say that. I put that in, obviously, if you're reading along. I'll shut up and carry on. All the technology of Equestria was delightful. Yeah, like trains and party cannons and yeah, you could probably define what you mean by technology, but okay. All the technology of Equestria was delightful. She had seen the advantage of it all on prior missions, though from a detached perspective, just something to use on the mission or exploit to further her ends. She had not seen much of it in her time with Vanilla, aside from medical... Oh my god, how many times am I going to stumble over my words because of this goddamn long sentence? Take 7. She had not seen much of it in her time with Vanilla, aside from medical technology, but she had heard his record player, and enjoyed even the muffled sound of the music, though he tended to overplay that one record, because he only owned one record. And it was probably a song made by Brony or something. She also knew there was a television, and would have been interested in that, though she was almost certain that he never used it. Nope. Wait, what? Oh, so they do have TVs. Okay. My apologies regarding the technology of Equestria thing. The new desire was strange. She was almost willing to put it down to a dwindling tactile memory of the concordance of the swarm. Almost. But they were her own thoughts, coming without coercion. Vanilla surely had no influence, not given the hostility of their relationship. She had resolved to let the matter drop. Her belly was full, and the void was screaming less intensely. It sufficed for her, but it didn't. Not truly. She wasn't satisfied with the strange limbo she found herself in. She was lying and telling the truth at the same time. She was uncomfortable with such waffling. So am I. Double D, so am I. She wanted to be all lies. That was the Changeling way. It is the Changeling way. It is the British way. The American way. Sorry. Even the tiniest kernel made her uncomfortable. Admixtures like that blurred too many lines. She needed to return to full lies or full truth, yet given the state of her mentality, it would not work very well. She could lie, of course, become overly friendly and saccharine sweet. It would be suspicious, but be accepted thanks to the new friendliness Vanilla had been expressing. But it would hardly benefit her, or get her more protection and feeling. The more truth she told, in contrast, would probably frighten him. He had her, a prisoner of battle, an invader. She could try to escape if he tried to hold her, but she would fare even worse in the world than she had being in his company. She sank against her pillow with a nicker body-shifting uncomfortability. Sure, okay, that's a word. That was not something likely to be resolved, not even by the time she was fully healed. But really, it probably mattered a little. He accepted her story as it was. She could do her best to stick out the half-lies, and it would be good enough. Down in the kitchen below, Vanilla was carefully easing out layers of what? I don't know what that word... I don't know how to say that word. I think I'm going to say that as phyllo? Well, whatever it is, I'm calling it phyllo, whatever. Down in the kitchen below, Vanilla was carefully easing out layers of phyllo, using several before laying down a thin layer of oil and either white cheese or vegetables. He was using a mix of thin sliced vegetables tossed with oil and herbs, primarily courgettes, carrots and leeks, mixed with basil, thyme, bay and fennel. It was a delicate process, given the thinness of the dough. He was using his focus because the process required it, not because his delicate ego required it. He smiled a bit at how unafraid he was of admitting there was a reason. He had thought himself above the ego-driven, image-fixated nobles, but he had found a small poisoned stream in himself, born of his isolation and self-imposed desire to not be a tool. Even though I'm making him sound like a tool, because, God, I cannot read fanfiction for crap. Despite the focus, he still had some chance to think about his guest, for whom this dish was being crafted. It was not made to impress her as the previous had been, but to fill her belly and be a proper dish for her. She deserved it with her slow growth into honesty. She would open up. She had already made admissions about her family's lost nobility and monetary abundance. It had been general, focused on giving biographical details that were locked together like a proper story. Breather. He could appreciate the good education the upper classes received, especially in literary... my God, I hate messing up so much. Do I really even want to do more chapters if this does well? Take 8. He could appreciate the good education the upper classes received, especially in literary manners. But it was not a good way of talking about personal matters. It would make for a good novel, but he knew she was holding back. No, good education does not make for a good novel. I mean, this is a good novel, but the writing is... I'm just going to stop complaining because it doesn't even matter. She had confessed to her uncertainty and lack of confidence in herself, given her feelings of being nothing more than a follower, nothing but an attachment on something that had nothing to do with her. He thought he had given her some decent advice. She had seemed to think deeply on it, but still she... God damn it! It turned off again! This goddamn tablet! You piece of crap! Oh, now I have to scroll all... I hate scrolling. There. He thought he had given her some decent advice. She had seemed to think deeply on it, but still she would not confess more about herself or the circumstances of her fall. A mere follower, an attachment locked onto some part of something she never chose. She had said a mouthful in a silence, and the coy manner of her admission, locked inside the narrative she crafted according to her education, was the truth. Speaking of mouthfuls, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've last done fanfic reading. It's expected that to be a bit rusty going back into it. So I apologise. Sorry. I need other people to read this with me. He had been right from the beginning, a rich mare being joined onto some other important bloodline. Maybe they were richer, maybe they still had a title, some mare or stallion, selected for calculated reasons without a hint of passion. They may even have been completely undesirable, but the family saw bit pouches or a shield of honours in their future, and used Dee as a chess piece, a thing to be pushed around, a tool. They were both afraid of the same thing. He was moved about by trends and modes in dining. He had read a dozen magazines a week to forecast the trends like some old Hipposian soothsayer. It was bad enough of a representation of him as some object to be used by forces beyond his control, but to stand there with the power flowing through him, moving the objects without focus. No wonder he had been so afraid of his own skill. It completed the transformation from pony to machine. She was her family's plaything. Sorry, I just read that and a very awkward image just entered my head. Whoa, that was disturbing. Slid across a map of family lines and bank statements into a strategic position. In the most extreme cases, he had heard of she may have been pawned off on some family to give some older sister or brother a better position with yet a third family, who had an interest in the doings of the second. While it was blissfully rare and sharply criticised when found, it still existed as something that could happen. From simply ignoring her preferences to using her as a trading cheat, her family had disrespected her in the most fundamental and terrible way possible. She was being used, like a thing. While it was a most extreme response, he could see why she dove for her freedom. Under the cover of the royal wedding's fireworks, the length of time which had passed was strange, with no notice of bounty hunters coming to seek her. They either thought she was dead or had been doing something potentially embarrassing and were keeping it quiet. It may have been a manoeuvre, or a marriage that shocked the equestrian sensibility on a deep level, like a herded marriage to a griffin. With a start, he realised he was repeating himself. Now you realised? He had had this exact line of contemplation before. Griffin-herded marriage and all. The difference was that he had actually asked and listened between the words. She had confirmed his mere suspicions, of course. He had no idea of the nature of the marriage. That was mere speculation. But he had gained some decent cause to guess in such a fashion. It was less blind groping and more logical consideration. His attention turned back to his work, finding his creation complete with a final layer of phyllo and a coat of oil. The thing went into the oven and he set his timer for it. His book was still waiting for him, and there were plenty of records to play. Even though you're just going to play that one record. Oh god, there's more writing! Damn it! Come on, you got this far, Unique. Just do it. Come on, come on. This is giving my speaking voice a workout. Later that night, Vanilla was bearing a heavy burden. He had previously brought up the small table, along with tomato juice, plates, and utensils. All that remained was the baked dish and his cranked record player. He thought it was appropriate to have it. The meal was especially nice, and without any live musicians, it was the best he could manage. Excuse me, I burped. He was also eager to share his musical taste. He hoped that she would appreciate it. And here we are, the last elements for a proper dinner. The dish and some music, Vanilla said, settling the pan down in the centre of the table and the record player off to the side, swiftly turning the handle with his magic. This like a lot of effort. Is there some occasion I do not know of? Dee Dee asked, leaning over to smell the still steaming dish. It was even better up close. Just another way of saying thank you for the help you've given me. I never even realised I was so self-involved, Vanilla said, settling the record down to play, letting the sound of fiddles, drums and guitars string through the room. It's because of you I can have a repast like this for you. For anyone, really. Dee Dee nodded, inhaling deeply as the crust was cut, releasing a heady puff of aromatic steam. And it smells delicious! What is this? Just something I got from Greg's. No, it doesn't really say that. It's a Hipposian dish. The name escapes me, but the recipe remains. Olive oil brushed layers of white cheese and seasoned vegetables, baked to crisp perfection. It was creation such as these that made me known as more than just a pastry chef. That's the secret to branching out, you see, to see what neighbours your limits in touching it. This is a main dish, but it is made with fallow, something whose properties I know very well. Vanilla noted, proudly serving out slices for himself and Dee Dee. Clever. Oh, damn it, I just scrolled down too much. Here we are. clever, Dee Dee noted, waiting for the piece to stop steaming before she cut a piece and took a bite. She nearly fell to the tabletop as her senses were assaulted by an explosion of savoury flavour and the sharp taste of genuine love for a task. He had really put himself into the making of it. It was wonderful. She had stopped herself from falling, but she couldn't keep the smile off her face. Delicious! Absolutely delicious! I just heard myself doing that voice, and even I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. Thank you. I've had a lot of reviews from a lot of famous folk, but I'm very glad you gave it your approval, Vanilla said with a slightly nervous chuckle. You're here, in front of my face, not sitting far away, detached. I can see your reactions. It's remarkably hard to lie with the little emotions that just came up unbidden. The comment seemed to stifle further comment from both of them, leaving them to simply eat and enjoy the music that played lightly in the background. The songs ranged from slow and thoughtful to somewhat raucous. Take 9. The songs ranged from slow and thoughtful to somewhat raucous. No, raucous. To somewhat whatever, leading to a few head bobs or gentle swaying in time to the tune. That went on until a song came on that seemed to be about the legendary fey creatures that were said to live in woodlands and other hidden locales. Somehow that made Dee Dee very uncomfortable. She squirmed slightly and looked around through the open verse and chorus, attempting to drown her energy in consumption and Take 10. Let's see if we can go all the way up to take 20, because I'm feeling it. 20 mess ups. Yeah, I bet this story's going to get 1,000 views, isn't it? Yeah, I'm such a great speaker. She squirmed slightly and looked around through the opening verse and the chorus, attempting to drown her energy in consumption and long swallows of juice. But as the second verse let drop the line, "Beware of this prize, as a curse in disguise, for your mortal life soon will be through. So please," she flashed her magic and lifted the needle off the record with a soft grunt. "Well, now, I do think that will suffice for music this evening," Dee Dee said by way of explanation, attempting to look biased and mild. "So..." Vanilla looked around, slightly nonplussed by the actions, but attempting not to offend by showing such puzzlement. "Aside from the sudden end of that song, what did you think of the album? I found it by sheer happenstance, and have enjoyed it greatly ever since." "I see the attachment and the delight you find. She certainly is a songstress, but as I said, that will suffice," Dee Dee said, finishing off her portion of baked vegetables and her glass of juice. "Thank you for a wonderful meal, and some wonderful company. It was more than I usually expect of an evening." "Oh!" She blushed slightly and waved a hoof. That came out wrong." No, I understand. Vanilla said, having his suspicion somewhat confirmed. "I take the compliment as you intended it, and will not read more into it than I should." If only I could say the same thing. Nah, I'm kidding. I'm kind of liking this now that I'm getting into it. Thank you much. Yeah, I think you're missing a very there, friend, but okay. "Thank you much," Dee Dee said. For a noble mare that had her expensive education, she certainly forgot to say very much, but whatever. "Thank you much," Dee Dee said, looking at the spread of items. "Goodness! I do wish I could be of some help somehow, but..." It's a simple process, Vanilla said nonchalantly, waving off concern. I brought them up so I can take them down. You probably want to rest, unless you need some help. You know, 'cause I got NyQuil, sleeping pills, a hammer over the head will knock you right out, give you sweet dreams. Nah, it doesn't say that, sorry. No, I can manage. I find I am becoming much more dexterous on 3 hooves, at least as far as reaching the facilities is concerned, Dee Dee said, moving as carefully as she could into bed. If you say so, don't mind me. Vanilla said, magically lifting his record player in the baking dish. Should be a quick job, just like before. Dee Dee settled down in bed and rested her head against the pillow, with a slight smile on her face. The screaming void would... Damn it. Speaker's in the way. Oh yeah. The screaming void whispered and her belly strained from the delicious and filling meal. She thought of the small comment Vanilla had made about finding what the neighbours of a skill were, to stretch and meet them and get better. It was something to consider. The near neighbour to her openness was honesty. Anathema. Okay, take 11. Anathema to changelings in practice, but things were changing. She was growing in a way she had never considered desirable or even possible. She was getting love by inspiring it. Not uncommon for a changeling, but she had done it without taking over a loved pony's place. She was doing it on her own, by earning it. Oh God, how much more is there? I want this to end soon. The people listening to my voice must be getting bored of it by now. Don't blame them. She heard the plates clattering as the table was moved out, with some commentary from Vanilla. He wasn't so bad, all told. A useful pony, and talented. Kind. Handsome. She did not tend to think that way, but he was still pleasant enough to look at. That's one thing you can think of when you... of the person who's just giving you food. Sure. Thank you for the meal. By the way, you're good looking. She drifted off with ease, all her body's complaints silenced. It was more than pleasant. Vanilla started in on one of the dishes, never want to leave them for another day. It would be over quickly. Smash. His magic took the lead, commanded by his own mind. The flow was easy and natural, and still left him free to think. She was opening up, perhaps more than she intended. She had been oddly particular about what had caused her to turn off the music. The song was not genuinely offensive. I hope not. Oh no, sorry. The song was not generally offensive. I thought it said was offensive then. The song was not generally offensive, but it could strike at certain nerves. That point she had chosen, her life being through. It was too raw, too reminiscent of what stared her in the face if she went back to Canterlot proper, to her enchanted life in the very unreal heights of the fabulous city. Some horrible fate tied up in thoughts of bloodlines or money. No wonder she had stopped it. That was certainly a curse in disguise, though she had peeled back the mask and seen the ugly truth. The ugly truth behind the beautiful fey figure. Oh, thank God we're nearly done. The whole thing had made him consider the future, at least the immediate future. She was going to heal. She was perfectly on track for it. He would have to take her back to the mountain, to a family that would use her. It would be unethical in the extreme to send her back to a place she knew she would despise. He'd feel like a monster. Feel like a monster! Sorry, sidetracked. He could not just send her off. He could, but it would be dishonest. Stuff a pack with food, give her a cloak and shoo her off into the anonymous distance. It would help, but it would leave a family probably hurting in some sense. There were few good Take 12. I really was hoping to get this last stretch done without messing up, but what are you going to do? There were few good options. He could only think about possibilities and wonder what he was going to do when the time came. He had one more thing he could try, but it was beyond foolish, especially considering the history they had had together. He'd do it, and take the consequence. The outcome could even make the decision about the future for him. And that is the end of chapter 7 of He Never Had So Sweet a Changeling. I messed up more times than I was hoping to, but what are you going to do? Okay, so to the person, and you know who you are, who wanted me to carry on with this fanfic reading, here's your 7th chapter. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed reading it, because I had so much fun. Nah, but in all honesty, I did actually enjoy that a little. Not really sure if I'm going to get back right into fanfic reading, but, you know, we'll let the public decide. If this video gets plenty of views, we'll say about... Ooh, what's a reasonable number? Let's say 500 views. If it gets 500 views or more, then I'll do some more chapters, and if they get the same number of views or more, then I'll just keep going and going until it becomes obvious that everyone's getting bored. So yep, that's it. So until next time, if there is a next time for this, be safe.